Hey guys, Yips here coming at you with another video, and today I want to take some time to talk about Warlock in 9.1 in Mythic Plus Dungeons. However, before that, briefly, I am going to be maining Warlock in 9.1. I'll start releasing Warlock videos a little bit later into 9.0.5 and transitioning into 9.1. But more importantly, I'm going to start doing log reviews again every single Sunday. So if you guys don't know what those are, basically I get on my Twitch channel. You guys can come there, link me your logs. I will go over them in detail on whatever boss fight it is, talk about what you're doing wrong, what you could be doing better, what you are doing well, talk about your character's gear, things that I think you could improve on, and hopefully just give you a better idea on how to play Warlock on boss fights in general that you're struggling on. So more information on that to come in the near future. Either way, Warlock in 9.1 in Dungeons. What's changed? What makes me think that it's going to be performing a lot better than it used to? Warlock is kind of turning into a combustion class, and if you don't know what that means, Fire Mage has this ability called combustion where they can get it roughly every minute to do a lot of damage. Warlock is going to sort of turn into the same thing, where it's going to be able to pump out a ton of damage every single minute if you're Night Fae and running the Soul Rot with the new legendary Decaying Soul. Warlock has always been a class that works really well when you're able to stack a lot of modifiers together, and with the new changes in 9.1, with the buffs to Seed of Corruption, the nerf to Malefic Rapture, the way the dots function, stacking all of these modifiers and being able to spam the newly buffed Seed of Corruption with Sow the Seeds is going to lead to a lot of damage. So what sort of things are we stacking here? We're stacking the Soul Rot dot, which procs are either Naya Mastery, or if you're running Dreamweaver, the Field of Blossoms. So that's already just your passive that you already have right now, as on 9.0.5, you're either getting your haste or your mastery. That's going to be modified by your new legendary. Each target affected by Soul Rot increases your haste and crit by 5% for 8 seconds. This stacks up to 4 times. So we're stacking either 12% haste with 20% haste and 20% crit, or we're stacking 200 plus mastery with this 20% haste and 20% crit. So those are already some really nice modifiers going together. We can also stack things like on-use trinkets, Soul Letting Ruby, IQD, any sort of new raid trinkets that grant stat procs. We can stack those with it. We can stack our Dark Soul, an additional 30% haste for 20 seconds. Very, very, very strong. We can stack our Summon Dark Glare, increasing our dot length on all of the targets, so these crit and haste modifiers are affecting them for longer. There's a lot of things that we can stack now as a Warlock on very short CDs, which is going to lead to Warlock having a very nice AoE damage profile in Dungeons. So what's that going to look like, and why is it so different compared to what it is on live right now? So briefly to show what it will look like is we're going to be going into packs, precasting our seed, casting a certain amount of agonies depending how many targets there are, maybe casting an unstable affliction, soul rotting, and then spamming your Seed of Corruptions. And it's going to be a lot of damage because of these modifiers that we have active. Now, that being said, if we were to use our Dark Soul and we were to use our Dark Glare and our Berserking, we would be doing a lot more damage. However, we'll take a look at that a little bit more in depth later. So, that's briefly what it's going to sort of look like every single minute on an AoE pack. We're going to be able to refund our shards by Drain Soul when the pack dies, and every single pack we go into, we'll have our Soul Rot, and we'll do a lot of damage with our Seed of Corruption. So the damage profile is going to be really nice every minute. And how is this different from what it is right now in 9.0.5? Well, the issue right now in 9.0.5, if I can transition myself into live servers right now, is Warlock really struggles with getting its dots out on a lot of targets quickly. If you're only fighting 2 to 3 targets, it's not so bad. But as you add 5, 6, 7 targets, casting 4 agonies, unstable affliction, haunt, soul rot, and then going into spamming malefic rapture is already a lot of globals on 4 targets just to get your damage rolling, and your damage on more targets than 4 doesn't actually increase that much because the amount of dots you're able to get out on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 targets is not as many proportionally to how many you'll be able to get out on 2, 3, or 4 targets. So your damage scaling tapers off really hard right now on live when there's a lot of targets active because you're just not able to get enough dots out for Malefic Rapture to do damage. However, going back to PTR, Seed of Corruption doesn't care about how many dots you have active. It cares about how many targets there are. And if there are a lot of targets, it will do big damage. So, waiting on our Soul Rot ability here, we'll be stacking the Soul Rot with our crit, with our IQD, with our Dark Glare, with our Dark Soul Misery, and going to be able to do a lot of damage on just a few targets. And the more targets you add, this damage just goes up. So, very simply, preceding, and then we're going to stack all of those juicy modifiers together. And you can do a lot of damage. See all these damage amp buffs we have right now? This is the goodness. That's what you really, really want as Warlock. And that's what you need to be seeing to be doing a lot of damage as any class. And this is on a non-optimized character. My character's gear is not crazy at all. I'm only 224 item level with no sockets, so these numbers could be a lot higher and could be potentially very, very good the more targets you add. Basically, 9.1, you should be looking forward to playing Affliction in dungeons. The damage profile, when the tank pulls 10 small mobs, you're no longer going to be able to feel like you're struggling to do damage on those 10 mobs. You're going to be able to absolutely decimate them. When the tank pulls a ton of mobs together, you're no longer feel like you're struggling on globals, trying to dot them all before everyone else kills them. You're going to start being able to do damage right away and very quickly. So Warlock is going to be a very good burst AoE class as Affliction, which is weird to sound, weird to say, but it's going to be very strong on burst AoE in Mythic Plus. This is a typical talent setup that you could expect to be running in Mythic Plus. You could swap Wrath and Agony with Absolute Corruption if there were enough targets, say like 10 to 15 target consistent pulls. You would probably prefer to run AC over Writhe, however the damage differential would be very minor. You could run Siphon in some smaller pull dungeons, but generally speaking, you're going to be looking at something like this. I would always recommend taking Drain Soul in dungeons so you can regenerate your shards at the end of the pack. That is going to be crucial. I don't think Soul Conduit will be better than Dark Soul Misery. I think we will have enough sustain with the amount of shards that we currently generate from Agony, and I think this will be a really solid build for moving forward. The single target will take a little bit of a hit, but overall, the AoE damage will be looking up, which is really nice to see for Warlock. Briefly, I want to mention just some small things on Destro as we look into the future. Destro would really love to use this legendary if it were just a little bit. Once we transition it into a place where Destro can run 2 legendaries and be using Wilfrids, as well as this legendary, we are going to be seeing some nutty things happening for Destro. Destro already has the highest uncapped AoE almost like in the game. If you pull enough mobs for Destro in that cooldown window, the DPS just with Fire and Brimstone is absolutely bonkers. However, if you're able to add this legendary where you're able to give yourself a 20% crit and haste buff while you're popping off with the Infernals, it's going to look really, really nice. And it's something that we should definitely be looking forward to. Just as a brief example, something like this where you're able to generate a lot of shards really quickly with your Infernals out. You're starting to proc things. Things are looking up. Pop your Soul Rod about halfway through as you're generating those shards, and it's going to feel really, really nice to play, and especially that nice synergy that Wilfrids has, reducing the cooldown on your Summon Infernals. If you're able to get it low enough and spend enough shards, you could potentially match every single or every other Infernal with a Soul Rot, which will be really, really nice on AoE burst. So something else to sort of be looking forward to in the future for Destruction Warlock is definitely going to be these benefits of running the double legendary with this new foot pads with the Wilfrids. So I think you rambled on enough. I think you guys get the idea of how Affliction will be benefiting in the future. If you have any questions, leave them in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.